it's your leader, Fort Black 56 with another video. Now, this is a pretty special video because I am coming back from a hiatus that I was taking. I was taking a little bit of a break, and I'm coming with some new, interesting content that some of you guys might like. And I actually have an intro for this video and other videos that I will be making like this. So, roll it!
A date which will live in infamy.
We choose to go to the moon.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda.
I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
That is right, guys. Today, we are going to be doing a U.S. President's video. Hold on. Applause, please. Thank you very much. Now, as I was saying, we're going to be doing a U.S. President's video. Now, you're probably asking yourself at home, Fort Blocks, what type of U.S. President's video are you going to be doing? Now, get ready for this. We are going to be doing a top 10 U.S. presidents of all time list. Yes, as you can tell by the thumbnail and title of this video, we are going to be doing a top 10 list. And also a U.S. president's video, as I said 2 times earlier. But the main focus is the top 10 U.S. presidents. So, bring them all together. But you probably might be asking, how did you get these rankings? Was it your own opinion? Was it something else? Well, I'm going to answer that right now. So, roll it. I said roll it. Now, here's how I came up with the results. So, Wikipedia had this article called Historical Rankings of Presidents of the United States. So, I went on that, and there was a scholar survey with multiple surveys, and there were the results. So I copy-pasted every single president's result and put it in an average calculator, and I got their average, and the presidents with the lowest average will be in the top 10, and the president with the lowest average will be in first place, because that means that they were ranked the highest. If you got a high number, you are the lowest. And just so if you're wondering, I am not going to include Donald Trump, although he would be pretty low, and he wouldn't even be on this list. He would actually be on the worst president's list. He'd actually be number 1 on that, but of course he's not, because he is the incumbent president, and I'm not going to include him on this video or the worst president's video if I do that. So just wanted to clear that up, but let's get started with the video. Now, of course, you have to start somewhere on the top 10 list, and what better place to start than, of course, number 10. So, the number 10 president on this list is John F. Kennedy, who served from 1961 to 1963. Now, for each president, I'm going to be explaining one good thing that they did and one bad thing that they did. So, let's start, of course, with John F. Kennedy. The one good thing that he did was he did things whether it was easy or hard. If he wanted to do something, he would do it. Didn't care if it was easy or hard. He would do it. Bam. Simple as that. But he did botch the Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba. Now, if you don't know what that is, I really don't know what that is either. So, if you wanna watch it, I'll put a link in the description to a video. You could go watch that if you want to explain the botched Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba, but I really don't have any idea what it is. So, he did botch that, but he was a great president regardless. Now, he would actually be higher up on this list if he had served longer and he wasn't assassinated. But unfortunately, he didn't. So let's move on to number 9, folks. Now coming in at the number 9 spot on our list, we have Andrew Jackson, who served from 1829 to 1837. Now, the one good thing that he did is he was actually a war hero before he became president, and he was also a prisoner of war. I believe he served in the War of 1812 before he was president, like I said. However, he really hated Native Americans. And before you comment, "Oh, you Native Americans!" let me explain. I do not hate Native Americans. Repeat after me. I do not hate Native Americans. Thank you. Now let's move on to number 8. Now, coming in at the number 8 spot on this list, we have Dwight D, and the D stands for David, Eisenhower, who served from 1953 to 1961. And then John F. Kennedy took over, which we already talked about. But let's talk about Dwight D. Eisenhower now. Now, the one good thing that he did do was he sponsored the Civil Rights Bill of 1957. Now, before the Civil Rights Bill was even passed in 1965, Dwight D. Eisenhower already wanted segregation ended. But he did authorize CIA to overthrow the Iranian government, which is not good. And by the way, as you'll notice, if you look at the presidents, most of the presidents in the 1900s, or in the late 1900s, didn't like Iran. Actually, no, it's not that they didn't like Iran, it's just they had involvement with Iran. You'll see that when you look at presidents from the late 1900s. Not now, but late 1900s. But let's move on to number 7. Now coming in at the number 7 spot on our list, we have Woodrow Wilson, who served from 1913 to 1921. Now the one good thing that Woodrow Wilson did is obviously he led us through World War I, which was, in my opinion, a little bit less chaotic than World War II, but still chaotic, but a little less chaotic than World War II. But he did sign the Espionage and Sedition Act, which holded back African Americans for generations. Now, like I said with the Native Americans, I don't hate African Americans, so don't even comment it. Thank you. Now let's move on to number 6. Now coming in at the number 6 spot on our list, we have Harry S. Truman, who served from 1945 to 1953. And if you're wondering, the S in his name just stood for S. It didn't stand for anything else. But let's talk about his presidency. The one good thing that he did, well, not the only good thing that he did, but the one good thing that he did that I'm going to mention is he led the United States through the Korean War, which, if you don't know, was the US and South Korea versus the Soviet Union and North Korea. But he did drop those 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, I'm not saying that it was unjustified, but I have one question for you, Harry S. Truman. Couldn't you have dropped it somewhere else? Nah, I'm just kidding. I knew he couldn't have dropped it somewhere else. But let's move on to the top 5. Now, coming in at the number 5 spot on our list, we have Thomas Jefferson, who served from 1801 to 1805. Correction, he actually served from 1801 to 1809, not 1805. But moving swiftly on. Now, Thomas Jefferson did write the Declaration of Independence, and he founded Virginia, the University of Virginia, and he also bought the Louisiana Purchase, but he broke a treaty with the Cherokee and effectively established the policy of Indian removal. Now, like I said earlier, I don't hate Native Americans, so don't comment that, okay? Okay. But let's move on to number 4. Now, coming in at the number 4 spot on our list, we have Theodore Roosevelt, who served from 1901 to 1909, exactly 100 years after Thomas Jefferson. he did build the Panama Canal and broke up monopolies to encourage competition. But he did issue the Roosevelt Corollary, that's how I'm going to say corollary, to justify American military intervention through Latin America. And he also was an avid outdoorsman and conservationalist. I think I pronounced that right. But let's move on to number 3 on our list, and keep that name Roosevelt in your mind, because we're going to see that soon. Now, coming in at the number 3 spot, you all knew this person was going to be here, whether he was number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, whatever. It's George Washington, who served from 1789 to 1797. Now, George Washington did lead the Americans through the Revolutionary War and to victory over the British. Sorry, British. But he also was offering money for food and arms for French planters in Haiti in order to suppress the slave rebellion. So, yeah, that wasn't good. But, as I said earlier, he did lead the country through the Revolutionary War, and he should be remembered more for that than this. And also the Whiskey Rebellion. Yeah, I don't think that was really good as well. But anyways, let's move on to number 2. Now, coming in at the number 2 spot on our list, we have Franklin D. Roosevelt. I told you to keep Roosevelt in your head. That's where it comes in. Franklin D. Roosevelt is actually, I believe, the cousin or distant cousin of Theodore Roosevelt. So that's pretty cool. But even though he did lead the country through World War II, he had over 100,000 Japanese Americans put into concentration camps, and most of them were innocent. And I know the Japanese were the enemies during World War II, but you had to do that? I knew you had to do that. But let's move on to number 1. Now, before we get to the number 1 spot, I have some quick honorable mentions, so roll it! James K. Polk, who was president from 1845 to 1849. James Madison, who was president from 1809 to 1817. Lyndon B. Johnson, who was president from 1963 to 1969. John Adams, who was president from 1797 to 1801. And James Monroe, who was president from 1817 to 1825. Now, obviously, with every list that you do, you have to have a number 1, and I think you all know who's going to be the number 1 for this list. We have Abraham Lincoln, who served from 1861 to 1865. Now, Abraham Lincoln did lead the U.S. through the Civil War, and he also signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which abolished slavery, but he suspended habeas corpus, I think that's how you pronounce it, in order to imprison Civil War protesters. He shouldn't be remembered for that. He should be remembered for the Emancipation Proclamation and abolishing slavery with that, and also leading America through the Civil War. But he did that. Every U.S. president has had their flaws. None has been perfect, but that's just the way that everything goes. So that's the list, but let's not forget the outro, so let's get to that. Well, guys, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. And also, go down there and hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 50 subscribers on this channel, 20 subscribers on my second channel, and 10 subscribers on my vlog channel. Link will be in the description, as always. And I need hurry up to get there. And also, go follow my Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch. Those will all be in the description. And also make sure you go listen to my podcast. That will also be in the description. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!